Welcome to the clusterfuck. This is the real spiritual journey. No fluff, no bypassing, pure honesty. This world is a total clusterfuck. Every Sunday, we're going to embrace the cluster and attempt to unfuck it. And we attempt to unfuck it not to perfect the world, but to better understand who we are and what the truth is. When we can sit back, observe, discuss, and analyze this giant clusterfuck, perhaps we can better understand ourselves and come up with simple solutions. Visit the website at theclusterfuck.com for links to all of the streaming and podcast platforms and social media. Now let's get ready to unfuck the cluster. Welcome everybody. It's the clusterfuck again. There's no getting out of it. And I know Mondays are not the usual day to do this, but I was reading a post. I was reading a post on X and on Facebook that my husband tagged me in. And I thought, you know what? I got to talk about this stuff because it's crazy and I probably won't be able to get to it during the week. Monday's the only day. So let's do it. Let's talk about Palantir and all the clusterfuck around it. I don't know how else to put it, but it's really bizarre. So I thank you guys for joining me. Hopefully a few more of you will stream in because I know I don't usually show up right now, but please support the show by clicking that thumbs up on the video. The faster people click that thumbs up when we start, the better the algorithm goes, oh, look, people actually are there and they're interacting and they watch this, and yay for me. I've got a ways before I can kind of monetize. Usually it's 1,000 hours, but for whatever reason, they're being dicks to me. Probably because I've gotten some copyrights and they're making it 3,000 and then 4,000. So we've got a few hundred more hours before we can get super chats and I can give you stickers and I can have like a members only video and stuff like that. We're almost there, but the way you can support me right now is clicking thumbs up and commenting, post. If you're not here for the live, show up, throw some comments in the post and interact and share. That all helps. And the more views we get, the more watch hours, the better the show does. Simply put. And before we get into our lovely Palantir, Peter Thiel, Alex Karp, the whole gamut of people that are involved in this, and it is a web, before we get into that, my friend commented on my channel. He's like, you changed your brand again? And I'm gonna address that. And I did it live right on the show, actually, because I was getting sick of everything being crazy. And I'm like, this is a clusterfuck. This whole channel's a clusterfuck. I'm talking about this whole planet that's chaotic. That's what it's going to be. And I feel like, well, number one, I am trained in graphic design. So that's like my job. That's what I do. So I experiment on things here and I'm always growing. So if I change something, it's because I feel like something's not working and I have to grow and grow and grow and keep changing. And, it's not like I'm trying to change my identity and hide who I am because I'm doing something horrible, like, some Epstein elite crazy people. Yeah, I'm not doing that. Not at all. So yeah, it's changed, but Hopefully it won't change anytime soon. And I'm going for a job interview tomorrow, so I'm not going to have time to be changing stuff. And when I change everything, I'm so fast at it now. It literally takes me hours to rebrand and do stuff if I hit it right. It's like click, 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 click. And yeah, YouTube probably doesn't like that. People who are subscribed, they may not like that, but I don't know. I'm not running a corporation here, guys. I'm trying to express what's going on. And the spiritual Sunday, it's nice, but it's too new agey. I like the spiritual element of it, but I also like pointing out these people who are anti real spirituality, which is almost this whole entire planet when you start looking at all the manipulation that happens. So there's my explanation. Welcome to the clusterfuck. Palantir, what's going on and why did I talk about this? Choose to talk about this. And what I want to start off with saying is that, Forrest Gump said life is like a box of chocolates. But I think Peter Thiel believes that life is to be treated like a game of chess. And that'll give you a lot of insight to his thinking and why he's kind of a sociopath. He loves the game of chess. He's very good at it. He likes to hire people who are very good at chess and strategizing in this sort of sociopathic way. And the problem with that is when you're playing a game of chess and you're normal, you can see that game as separated from reality. When you're a sociopath, you play the game of chess, maybe you play Risk or something like that, and you're like, this is life. This is how I'm going to approach everything. And I think that's what we got here with Peter Thiel. But of course, there's so many other people involved, and we're going to get into that. We got Jonacide in the room. Kyle Smith, welcome to you. We got Dorothy. Howdy, howdy. I did it again. I rushed this. I was doing so much research today. I kind of rushed this one. So give me a moment here to change our colors. There we go. That's better. I wish they would just keep the color and everything set to what I set it as, but I don't know. The system's being silly anyway. We changed it. It just goes with the branding a little bit better to have it pink and then it's bright and everyone can see it and it's lovely. So there we have it. So Palantir, and why did I want to talk to them? Look, I don't want to talk to them at all. In fact, I want to stay far away from these kind of people. But I'm gonna show you what I seen today that made me think we got to talk about this, because this is going to be representative, I think, of how our planet's gonna be running, and it's gonna get weirder and crazier. And people who don't understand tech and these oligarchs and these corporations are going to be completely lost. But let's pop over. We are going to screen share, my friends, and we are going to look at Kim.com. Now, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Kim.com before I read this. They want to extradite him over to the United States because he's accused of a lot of things. He ran a company called Mega Upload that was doing all this file sharing, and he's being sued for copyright infringement, money laundering, and racketeering. I guarantee you the government's probably making half of it up, but he's over in New Zealand and America's trying to extradite him, but they let him on X. he kind of reminds me of like all the people who out this whole clusterfuck of crazy authoritarians. And so a lot of people are on Kim.com's side, like normal people, because they see the whole corruption in the system. But Kim.com, we're going to read his post that he put yesterday. And then we've got another post that we're going to go over. And he said, breaking. Palantir was allegedly hacked. An AI agent was used to gain super user access. And here's what the hackers allegedly found. And we have to say this is allegedly because I don't know. He's getting this as a source from someone. They found that Peter Thiel and Alex Karp commit mass surveillance of world leaders. Ooh, maybe they're on the Epstein files. We'll get to that one. And they do it on world leaders and titans of industry on a massive scale. One thing to know about Peter Thiel is he loves monopolies and he likes to have the monopoly because he doesn't like competition. So him having this crazy technology that he has with Palantir really makes him like a techno Hitler crazy fascist. It's quite scary when we get into it. They have thousands of hours of transcribed and searchable conversations of Donald Trump, JD Vance, and Elon Musk. They have backdoored the devices, cars, and jets of world leaders and accumulated the biggest archive of blackmail material. Wow. Geez, it's like they took out Jeffrey Epstein so they could be him. Palantir is creating nuclear and bioweapon capabilities for Ukraine, and they are working closely with the CIA to defeat Russia. They believe they are 1 year away. They plan to achieve this by keeping Russia busy with meaningless peace negotiations. Palantir is responsible for the majority of Palestinian deaths in Gaza. They have developed an AI targeting system for Israel. Allegedly, this is all allegation. Palantir is an arm of the CIA, which is true. The CIA originally funded them for millions of dollars back in 2003. And all data from international clients is copied into a CIA spy cloud. They got a big spy cloud floating somewhere in digital world. Palantir has become the most dangerous company in the world. And once we learn about Peter Thiel and Alex Karp, you'll understand why. If you work there, you have the right to know that this is what Palantir AI is used for without your knowledge. The Palantir data the hackers allegedly gathered will be given to Russia and or China. I was chosen as a trusted partner for this publication. I'm not involved in the Palantir hack and I don't know the hackers, but I do know that the hack happened. So people want to know want to know if it's verified or people are saying what. So Palantir's mega database, this is another allegation, combines all of your data into mass surveillance nightmares: medical records, facial scans, location tracking, social security, bank accounts, tax filing, student debt, visa status. Created by billionaire Peter Thiel, it's a blueprint for tracking, profiling, and controlling your life. They have backdoored all devices. All right. This is too long of a video to show right now. This wasn't on the thing. We might get back to it. I'll leave that one up. We're going to go to another screen here about that with Kim.com, because the CTO of Palantir apparently responded to these allegations and Kim reposted it. The Shyam Sankar, who is the CTO, puts, "This is peak Kim.com. Nuclear grade claims, zero evidence, maximum trust me bro energy, and a side of any day now copium. You're chosen as a trusted partner for this dump to Russia, China, the guy who predicted Hillary's arrest, Seth Rich leaks, and Mueller downfalls, batting .00 on credibility. If the data ever drops, spoiler, it won't, I'll eat my ontology. Palantir is still standing. Kim is still standing." Okay, whatever that means. So Kim responds to that. CTO of Palantir responds, "Trump said Hillary would get arrested. My Seth Rich evidence is on X. What credibility does Mueller still have after Russiagate? Palantir servers were hacked because CTO can't even perform advanced X search. Still a billionaire? Sell your shares." There you go. Someone in the comments said, "When I ran your post through ChatGPT, it also claimed you make nuclear grade claims. Sounds like this guy just used ChatGPT to respond to you." Yeah, I think that's the problem. A lot of people are using ChatGPT for everything and not their brains. Okay, so that's where this all kind of started, where I'm realizing that we may have some security breach, and this is going to be the future where hackers and corporations are warring in this way. So we're not just on the battlefield, we're database warring. We're blackmail database information, all this stuff showing up. This is the future. It's going to be like a Terminator reality, creating AIs and robots, and it is really like if you ask someone 400 years ago and they saw this, they would be like, "Oh, that's hell. That's a hellscape. That's what hell looks like." And they're really heading for it. And wow, I just thought, well, maybe we should talk about what Palantir is and when it got started and how it's involved and how it's merged itself into the government to such a incredible level. Now, first of all, Palantir was founded in 2003 with a critical early funding from InQtel, the CIA's venture capital arm. So the CIA themselves has InQtel, that's their venture capital, that take money from that. So they probably, who knows how, I mean, most of their money is probably coming from taxpayers and drug money and God knows what else. So they have InQtel, that's their investment capital arm, and they use that to invest in Peter Thiel's company. Now, Peter Thiel, of course, has this crazy history. We're going to get into it. There's a really good video on this. It's hard to parse out because it's such a vast, crazy thing with him. But he's German. They call him German American, but he was born in German. I believe his father was a chemist. We're going to go have a boo here about Peter Thiel. Whoops, I did not mean to hide that. Let's go to our other screen. Add a source. And you will see that this guy has almost like the great foundations of kind of, I don't want to say kind of, but like a sociopath. And we're going to pop up some videos of him in a second. But he was raised. All right, here we go. Born in 1967, German American, entrepreneur and venture capitalist and political activist. And remember, this guy was behind Trump right from the beginning. He's always been there funding Trump. Alongside other funders, he founded PayPal, Palantir Technologies, and Founders Fund. He was the first outside investor in Facebook. So he invested in Facebook. He also, I believe, invests in Spotify and a whole bunch of other companies. He was born in Germany. He was taken to the US when he was a year old, but his family moved to South Africa, which is interesting because that is where Elon Musk is from. And then they moved back to the US. But when he was in South Africa, a lot of people don't know, a lot of these kind of white nationalists, Germans, Nazis kind of people were in South Africa, and they had this formation of a culture there that really tried to make them look like victims. Now, I'm not saying that there's no victimization happening or there's no white hatred, but you'll see this pushed because there was a huge white nationalist kind of fascist faction there that said, we own things, we are in charge. And Peter Thiel has really adapted this idea that certain people were meant to rule. He has this very Antichrist, the world should be ruled by a few rich people and that's it ideology. And I think that started to form very young. Very, very young. So, of course, he moves to the US in 77 when he's 10. He graduated from Stanford. He worked as a clerk in securities lawyers, a speechwriter, and subsequently a derivatives trader at Credit Suisse. He founded Thiel Capital Management in 1996 and then co-founded PayPal with Max Levchin and Luke Nosek. in 98. He was the chief executive officer of PayPal until it sailed to eBay in 2002 for $1.5 billion. So after that, he founded Clarion Capital in San Francisco. He launches Palantir Technology, a big data analysis. The precursor to that, though, was developing a software called Igor for PayPal. And that Igor software was meant to stop basically fraud within their banking system. They had to come up with something because when PayPal first started, they were giving people money to sign up, and it was fragile. And a lot of Russians, kind of broke into that, and there's a lot of scam. And so Igor, this program that they developed, was really effective. It cut frauds in like half. And so it's a precursor to what he would start to look for in Palantir. So we're going to go to a little bit of a description on Palantir. I've got a little video here that will help us. It will help us. What is Palantir?
Measures. Like calling people who actually know what they're talking about.
Can you answer that question for me here and now? What exactly does Palantir do?
I will say two things. The fact that you're asking that question goes to the heart of the company and the confusion over it, and also the mystique of it. Number two is I will tell you what they do. They want to win Defense Department contracts, commercial contracts as well, but I think they have their eye at the prize.
Sharon Weinberger is the Wall Street Journal's national security editor, and much like me, she's been covering the U.S. defense industry for over 20 years.
They got their start going back to 2003 in trying to come up with a data analytics platform. We're in the middle of the war on terror. We're involved in operations in Afghanistan. We're involved in operations in Iraq. And what is our number one problem there at the time? It's insurgency. It's roadside bombs, IEDs that were killing U.S. and allied soldiers and infantry on the...
I'm going to say I always find it funny how they go on about all this stuff in Iraq, considering that it's them who started all this stuff in Iraq and created a lot of these terrorists, allegedly. And then they're like, oh, well, we created all this chaos. Now we need to monitor it and track it and defend ourselves against this chaos that we've created. Really interesting psychology behind these defense contractors and these agencies.
Alarming rate. So Palantir came in and said, look, we can take all of this information that you're collecting, and the Defense Department collects a whole lot on the battlefield, and integrate it in a database and help you spot bad actors, spot terrorists. That is what they pitched themselves as doing when they were first sort of coming on the scene in 2003, 2004, and really for the first decade plus of its existence. What they've expanded to today is something much bigger, in some ways more interesting, and in some ways kind of posits them to be more successful, which is they are a problem solver for the Department of Defense. You have a problem, we will solve it.
It should be more like you create the problem to fuck up the people, and then we'll present the solution to the people, which is more control. That's what it should say. That the Hegelian dialect, that's what it should say.
All right, so here's the deal. Palantir is a data analytics software company who got its start during the war on terror and today has big ambitions to be the U.S. Department of Defense's go-to problem solver.
The idea of a Silicon Valley company saying we kill things, that we're interested.
I love how he has himself listed as a 3-time draft dodger.
In serving the Department of Defense, and the Department of Defense wages war. That was simply unprecedented back in 2003. It was what made them unique. People hadn't seen it, and that they were going to compete with companies that had been around for decades and dominated the market.
The companies Sharon's talking about here are commonly known as the big defense primes. Places like Lockheed Martin, Boeing, Northrop Grumman, and Raytheon. The Department of Defense gives these chillers huge contracts to make fighter jets and stuff.
One of the things that these new companies like Palantir are kind of helping to disrupt, which is probably good.
Okay. She's going to promote this as good, but I'm going to tell you why it's not. And I already said it actually before, is that Peter Thiel likes monopolies. He likes to wipe out the competition and have full control. That's why it's not good what he's doing.
System of prime contracting and defense contracting. We have a few big contractors that have these giant contracts and they have cost overruns. That's one reason the Pentagon's budget is so big.
Margaret O'Mara is a historian and professor who studies the modern history of American politics and business and how they overlap.
And this is something that policymakers have been pushing back against for decades.
There we go. So that's the end of that one. So that kind of gives you an ABC version. An ABC version of that they want all these defense contracts to monitor, they're saying terrorism. But when they bring that in, the problem with that, of course, is they're bringing it in to this administration, and it's not about terrorism. They can just claim someone's a terrorist. Our major system told you so, and they can just get rid of anyone they don't like. And Peter Thiel does this on a regular basis, getting rid of companies or people. He sued the magazine Gawker, and how he did it was Gawker had wrote something about his sexuality because he was not out as being homosexual, and he didn't like that. And then Gawker went and released a sex tape of Hulk Hogan, everybody's favorite wrestler, and Hulk Hogan wanted to sue them. So what Peter Thiel did was he got behind Hulk Hogan with all his money and funded his lawsuit to bankrupt and close down Gawker, because Gawker was writing facts and truths and exposing Peter Thiel's shady deals. That's how he did it. So he's a very vengeful, bitter, likes to control everything, is totally not on the Epstein files, right? No, he is. Excuse me. But the guy's got total Antichrist personality disorder. That needs to be in the DMSV. Antichrist personality disorder. It totally, it's like the dark tetrad of tetrads. And he's got it. We're going to see if we can come up with another clip here to go through. And we've got tons of articles that go on about his life. And there's a longer video. And I'm going to give you the longer video because it goes on about his childhood, about his need to control things, about his fear of death, about his crazy approach on humans, that the man is a total misogynist. He does not like women. He blames women for the collapse of American society. He says women have been collapsing America's economy since the 1920s. Real crazy stuff. Ever since we got the right to vote, and it's just made up nonsense. And he thinks women should not have the right to vote. He's thoroughly
telling people who actually know what they're talking about.
Sorry, I made a mistake there. He's thoroughly crazy. And he's not somebody that should be in any position of power that he is, but through his crazy manipulation, he is. And, really what he does is he plays the long game. He really plays the long game in this. He is good at staying in the shadows. He stayed in the shadows for a while, which is why he sues when people talks about him, because he wants to stay there and observe other people make their chess moves so he can make the ultimate checkmate. Really. This one is a little bit of clip about his approach on AI and how unnerving people think he is. It's from Joe Rogan. I'm going to check that one out.
Peter Thiel is giving a 4-part lecture on the Antichrist.
Yeah, that seems odd.
4-part. Well, here's what's really wild to me. 4 parts. It's not just one. One lecture on the Antichrist would be insane. This guy's doing a series. He's doing a 4-part lecture on the Antichrist, and nobody in his inner orbit went, Peter, how about one lecture on the Antichrist or no lectures? Not 4.
Well, I don't think he understands the optics.
He certainly does not.
Yeah.
It's odd.
I believe Joe had Peter Thiel on, and he's had all these people on. I just don't trust Joe's opinion at all. I think he's there to kind of water it down and make it look harmless. That's what I think he's there for. And remember, Peter Thiel has funded Spotify. And who does Joe Rogan has his contract with? What company does Joe Rogan have his contract with? Spotify. Just remember, the dots are connecting. I think Joe Rogan will acknowledge things, but he's kind of admit that, it's not a big deal and water it down. So you're like, oh, okay, Joe Rogan says, right? Like, seriously. Incognito says he's a psychopath, like most of the billionaires and tech bros. Absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Tickets sold out.
Well, of course.
Well, it's a private lecture at a club in San Francisco about the Antichrist. What does he know about the Antichrist? Is he like...
I'm guessing a lot.
What does he know about himself?
If you told me there was a movie and there was a guy who played the Antichrist, zoom in on that image of him.
Yeah.
I would say, oh, is that him? Was that the Antichrist?
This is like me doing a 4-part lecture on Long Island racism. Just to show everybody.
I'm not a racist. Okay, we'll get into that whole idea about Antichrist and stuff, but I actually want to go and look at some more information to get a better idea about how vindictive this guy is. And I know for sure that he hates women. He absolutely hates women. And when I see a lot of this technology that's almost, in competition with the womb, most of this technology, you can tell they hate women. They may not consciously say it, but they absolutely want to replace the womb. They want to replace intuition. They want to control everything in this really rigid, fascist manner. It's absolutely crazy. These people hate women. I can't even. There's no way that you would make me think otherwise. Oh no, we can't. What's this one? Okay, I don't want to play this one yet. We'll get to this one. I'm going to go look for another video. I'll just pop this. I have so many screens up, you guys. I apologize. It's hard being a conspiracy theorist. We will get to Peter Thiel and Jeffrey Epstein, but what we're going to get to first is we're going to do a little bit of a in-depth kind of review that gives us a little more in depth to his personality, because I think it's important to say the least. Here, I go down here. Let's click this one.
Whoa, what's that?
We don't want to play their commercials. We don't want to listen to their crap.
Is very aggressively investing. He looks for the future.
Thiel's legendary status in business is hard to overstate. His companies have created technologies that have changed the course of the modern world, and his influence helped define tech, an industry that has produced millions of jobs and trillions.
Let's go to the chess part.
Peter Thiel is around 8 years old when his family arrives in Swakopmund, a former German colony on Namibia's coast. He moved here with his parents and brother after some years in Ohio. During the 1970s, the city is occupied by apartheid South Africa. At the time, it's a town clinging to its German roots, where Hitler's birthday is still celebrated and the Nazi salute is a casual greeting for some. Peter's father, Klaus, takes an engineering job at a uranium mine just outside town. The mine is controversial and shrouded in secrecy. According to international law, South Africa isn't allowed to mine here, but they go ahead anyway. Extracting Namibia's uranium is part of South Africa's nuclear weapons program. The regime is secretly developing bombs to defend against a possible Soviet attack and to protect the apartheid way of life. According to a former British activist group, black laborers have worked at the mine under dangerous conditions. Meanwhile, white families like the Thiels enjoy a privileged life. Brand new medical facilities, country club memberships, kids in private school. Young Peter is reportedly first put in a whites-only school in Johannesburg, then in a German-language school in Swakopmund, where the curriculum pushes a Christian nationalist worldview and even paints white South Africans as the real victims of the region. This is where Peter Thiel spends formative years. It's a world where his family benefits from a white supremacist regime, where his father actively advances its military interests. A world where the founding belief is that some people are meant to rule, and the majority must serve.
That is the foundation of Peter Thiel. And I believe his father was a chemist, though we can go into... All right, you're here live. Pirate Shipping's here live. I'm glad you guys were able to watch live. Don't forget, thumbs up, please. I really appreciate it. But you can see this. This is the background that he comes from. And then he comes to United States, I think, when he's about 10. So from 8 to 10, he's living in this kind of nationalistic, but he's an awkward guy. He's kind of geeky. Nobody really wants him. And in his mind, he's born to win. You know? He's the guy. He's, we're going to skip forward here to the long game part because we don't want to spend the entire time in this. It's just too long, but we'll skip forward a chapter. I love that they do chapters on YouTube now because I can skip forward. So we really need to understand the foundations of these people and where they come from. And, his father, I want to look up, while this is playing, I'm going to look up some stuff on his father to see what ties his father has in Germany because they were German. The long game. Chapter 5.
As CEO of PayPal, Peter Thiel is on a whole new playing field. In 2002, he secures a landmark deal. eBay acquires PayPal for $1.5 billion. Thiel becomes a multimillionaire at 35 years old, walking away with at least $55 million from the deal. Now he has the capital and credibility to pursue his wildest dreams. The day he signs the deal is the day he also steps down as CEO. PayPal was just a stepping stone. Now he's ready to move on to bigger and bolder projects, and to live the high life as a very rich person. He buys a silver Ferrari and fancy apartments. Now the formerly bullied kid is the life of the party. More and more people want to be in his orbit. Thiel's personal trajectory is skyrocketing, but the country is spiraling.
All right, let's skip that.
Online is a vast universe.
I'm researching.
In the wake of 9/11, Americans also face a recession, an unpopular war, and widespread trauma. Thiel is anxious too. He's increasingly concerned with the threat of religious terrorism. He finds the Bush administration isn't tough enough on Islam. His politics seem to shift. At Stanford, he wrote fiery libertarian essays railing against government power. Now he's arguing the opposite, that the US must use extrajudicial methods to catch terrorists. As he put it, outside the checks and balances of representative democracy as described in high school textbooks. For Thiel, the trade-off is clear. The West must compromise. More security, less freedom. And he sees a business opportunity in it. What if Igor, the software Max Levchin built to catch fraudsters, could be retooled to catch terrorists? Wouldn't the CIA be interested? In 2003, Thiel gets a team to start working on it right away. They'll call the company Palantir. In The Lord of the Rings, a Palantir is a mythical stone that sees and communicates across far distances. Sauron, the evil character who seeks to dominate Middle-earth, uses a Palantir to spy on enemies and conspire with allies.
I think this is one of the most weirdest, disturbing thing about tech bros. Is that they're obsessed, a lot of them are obsessed with these sci-fi things. And of course, Peter Thiel is absolutely obsessed with Lord of the Rings. Of course, he misses the key message about authoritarianism, and he's going like, hey, maybe I should call my company Palantir. And if you know, Palantir is this globe thing that Saruman uses to communicate with Sauron. And in the picture that I put on my YouTube, you can see the eye communicating. It's almost like possession. It's like when you look into this Palantir thing to spy on people, the eye can talk back to you, this sort of demon thing. It's really creepy that they're so obsessed with this and sci-fi, and this is what, and then they say we're right, we're this, we're that. It's not that you're more right or you're more into reality than other people. It's that they're psychopaths, and when people try to expose the reality of them, they take them down and say they're just crazy. They're just crazy. But this is seriously, they're being inspired by this evil looking glass type of thing from the Lord of the Rings. And of course, the whole message of the book and the movie goes right over this little antisocial guy's head. Anyways, I'll let it play. I'm still trying to find some information about his grandparents because they were adults during the war.
Ice.
The power of Isengard is at your command.
Oh no, we have to
Lord of the Earth.
we're gonna get copyright for that one. Let's go.
In the early years, many users are disappointed with Palantir's service, but their timing is excellent with everyone terrified of another attack. And Thiel's chosen CEO is excellent at raising money. His name is Alex Karp. He's another former Stanford classmate.
Pause. Alex Karp. He's an interesting guy. He's New York. He is Jewish family. His father was a clinical pediatrician. His mother, an African and American artist. So he's kind of mixed there. He's got a mixed background. He's interesting, but I've got do you guys? I've got that video clip of him. We'll watch it later. We'll watch it after this. There's so much information. These guys are wacko, and just like Nazi Germany, I'm pretty sure they're all high on drugs. Apparently, Karp had dyslexia from an early age. He was influenced by his parents for activism for civil rights and social justice during his youth and went to many protests. He said he inherited from his maternal side was a strong affinity to fighting discrimination. But you know what? Like I said, the road to hell is often paved with good intentions when they're young. And when you get into the money, some different stuff happens. So he began his business career as an associate at the Sigmund Freud Institute in Frankfurt. And Sigmund Freud is total psyop, total cover for pedophiles. His psychology and the way that they approach it, they basically gaslit young girls and said because they were reporting SA and sexual assault from their fathers, that was really happening. So to cover up for all these elite Jewish people in the community, because they were molesting their daughters, he basically came up with this, they have an infatuation and a sexual fantasy about their father, so they're making up stories that their father has this Oedipus thing against them. This is literally what he did. And it's in the records, it's in the archives of Sigmund Freud. And it was a book was written about it, and his daughter gave permission. It's really crazy stuff. So yeah, he's obviously a Freudian. And for some time, he helped Thiel to gather funding for Clarion Capital in 2004. Along with Thiel and others, he co-founded Palantir Technology, became its CEO. So there you go. He's got a very political activist, mixed background. I'm sure he started off thinking, yeah, I'm going to be really active and doing good. But, when you get into there, when you get into the money, when you get into the military, things can go awry. Let's keep playing that video, and I'm still going to try to find something on this lovely gentleman's grandparents.
When Osama bin Laden is captured and killed, rumors circulate that Palantir was used to find him. Public interest in the company skyrockets. Based on what's known today about Palantir's abilities at the time, any meaningful involvement is questionable. When media outlets ask Alex Karp about that rumor, he's careful not to confirm or deny involvement. He tends to dodge the question with a smile and imply that some connection is there.
Did your company help to track and kill Osama bin Laden?
When you open the paper and look in the news about...
Okay, if they're saying that they helped to knock off Osama bin Laden, we know that's fake. We have no proof that Osama bin Laden did 9/11. We have no proof that Osama bin Laden was even killed, because we just seen some wrapped up bag thrown into the ocean. No body, no nothing. We know who did 9/11. It wasn't some people from the Middle East in a cave. And it's quite possible that Osama bin Laden was working for the CIA. So you see how crazy and twisted this stuff is. There's no way I believe hinted at that probably, and this video will say it, probably to increase their stock. So like they're heroes. Oh, look, they found the evil fictional Gargamel villain.
These kind of things. There's a 2/3 chance, depending on the country involved, that somehow my company was involved.
One media outlet isn't buying the hype. A gossipy blog called Gawker. According to Max Chafkin, Gawker's Silicon Valley page reports no real link between Palantir and the Bin Laden raid, and suggests the company spread the rumor just to boost sales. Valleywag is known for roasting the tech industry back when most news outlets tend to sing its praises. And a favorite target of Gawker's gossip and mockery is Peter Thiel. Thiel will take care of Gawker later.
Experience Japan on a journey customized to you. Explore future.
Skip that.
Beyond founding Palantir, Thiel spends...
I'm not sure. I know that his parents, Peter Thiel's parents, fled Germany because there was a rise in facing the anti-Semitism and the Nazi regime stuff with the students there. And they fled and went to an apartheid South Africa where kind of Nazi Germans, that kind of thing, fled after the war. That's what I am finding out. And as you see in the documentary, but I'm not sure what. I know his father was a chemist and obviously got into all sorts of crazy stuff, as you've seen in South Africa, and using the local population to do dirty like slave work. But I can't, it might take me a little bit to see what exactly his grandparents were up to, because Peter Thiel's father was born in 1938, which means he was a child through the war, but his grandparents would have been adults. So they would have been probably part of, yeah, they would have been voting. Let's just put it that way. I think we can safely say
the 2000s turning tech startups into giants.
I was the sort of first angel investor in Facebook in summer of 2004. The business was already tracking quite well. They only needed money to buy more computers. So I think that was always sort of a promising sign.
In 2004, he becomes Facebook's first big investor. Thiel not only funds the company, but becomes Zuckerberg's mentor. Now, Zuckerberg is one of the richest people alive, and Thiel's investment will net him about $400 million. Thiel doesn't stop there. Through his network, he backs Airbnb, Spotify, SpaceX, and later OpenAI.
Okay, so he's ChatGPT, all this stuff he's funding. But here we go. Here's another thing to know about Peter Thiel, is that his father worked with Klaus Schwab for that nuclear apartheid in South Africa, mining stuff for nuclear weapons for against the Soviets. We got right here. In 1967, Peter Thiel's father, Klaus Thiel, was an expert in open pit mining. When Peter Thiel was still an infant, his father was recruited by apartheid South African regime to work on their clandestine nuclear weapons program. However, Klaus Thiel was not the only German named Klaus at this time who was working on the secretive South African plan to develop a nuclear weapon. A young Klaus Schwab was also doing business with the South African regime on behalf of the model Nazi company, which his father once ran. Interestingly enough, so we know Klaus Schwab's father was definitely a Nazi. 100%. This article, in the previous article, Dr. Klaus Schwab and How the CFR Taught Me to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb, I revealed that the founder of the World Economic Forum had received CIA-funded training under the tutelage of Harry Kissinger. This article also reveals for the first time that the Rotary Club funded Schwab's involvement in the infamous Harvard seminar, of course, that functioned as a CIA leadership training program. This article also reveals that Klaus Schwab's direct involvement with American nuclear scientists at the University of California, Berkeley during this period. UC Berkeley was central to U.S. nuclear arms race, and Schwab was in CIA training. So they're all connected. These people are all connected. It's like a hierarchy of psychotics. I can pass you guys that article if you want to read the whole thing. I'm not going to go through it. But Peter Thiel's father is connected to Klaus Schwab, and Klaus Schwab's connected to Harry Kissinger, which is kind of World Economic Forum, CIA, mining for nuclear weapons. It's 6 degrees of separation. So this is why Peter Thiel, he's acting like, we're just born to rule. It's because of this family lineage. He is connected to WEF. He's connected to all these people. Even though he'll say he's a conservative, which makes zero sense at all, they're all connected. Left, right, whatever. Connected like crazy. We're going to skip ahead in this one. I wanted to find, I knew there was going to be something there. The kingmaker. Let's check this one out.
It's often said that 2 things in life are certain: death and taxes. Well, Peter Thiel disagrees. What others see as inevitabilities, Thiel sees as problems to be solved. He famously funds biotech companies pursuing life extension. His hatred of taxes has him pour resources into anti-tax political actions and also seasteading, man-made island nations free from income tax and governmental regulations. A floating libertarian utopia where he can escape systems he finds oppressive, an idea he has since abandoned. He looks into other exit plans, like a bunker in New Zealand, which he also later drops, and the chance for humanity to reach Mars. This becomes Peter Thiel's pattern: seeking escape. Escape from rules that govern everyone else. But escape on Peter Thiel's scale doesn't come easily. Immortality research and space exploration require massive resources. Changing tax laws requires massive influence. Fortunately for Thiel, his wealth and influence have grown enormously, so he can attempt to reshape politics to enable his search for escape. In 2007, he does something unusual for Silicon Valley entrepreneurs. He starts funding presidential candidates. His first big bet is the libertarian Ron Paul, a long-shot candidate.
So a lot of you may not know that he first started with libertarianism, and he funded Ron Paul. But I found this. There's Peter Thiel's grandfather comes from Namibia, referred to as German Southwest Africa, where he was a committed Nazi, allegedly. Remember, the Germans committed genocide there before the Holocaust in Europe. Know the roots of the people and their ideologies. So I'm pretty sure he was, but not in Germany. He was in South Africa. And somehow they went back to Germany. I don't know. They're going back and forth between Germany and South Africa. And you can see that. And there's also, of course, South America, Argentina, that factions. But now, just because he funded Ron Paul doesn't mean Ron Paul is in with that kind of thing. Ron Paul, a lot of these politicians just take backers because they think it's, he's running he may not even known in history. He's running this and take some money, but clearly it didn't work. Clearly, Peter Thiel is very frustrated. He becomes very frustrated with libertarianism, and he starts to take on this idea that democracy is just shit. Democracy is bad. Americans will never vote libertarianism, so we might as well just get rid of democracy. That is a psychopath. It's like, they won't do what I want, so I'm going to get rid of it. And you can see he's slowly taking over U.S. politics and inserting himself to levels that are like his daddy would have been like, I love you, son. We would have been proud of it.
For presidency, but a politician with a passionate base. Like Thiel, Paul is an advocate for extreme free market capitalism. They're also both skeptical of climate change to different degrees. Ron Paul doesn't win the 2008 presidency. Obama does. In 2012, Ron Paul runs again, and this time Thiel is his biggest donor by a long shot. Thiel wasn't really banking on Paul's win. Instead, he was thinking ahead. In an interview with the magazine Slate from 2012, Thiel says he was really campaigning for 2016, building up a strong libertarian base. Thiel seems...
Right. So he kind of funds him, and he's planning. Like, Thiel is he's a chess player. So he's planning ahead. And I think, here's my idea on the Make America Great Again thing. Now that I'm seeing everything in hindsight and watching these manipulative moves, Donald Trump and Peter Thiel has invaded the Tea Party, which was kind of libertarian. And they invaded it with this concept of make America great again because they think America's a pile of crap. And the fact that so many people went along with that and said, yeah, America is a pile of crap. We got to make it great again. That's like law of attraction. You can't be thinking my country is a pile of crap. Because I don't think it, yeah, I mean, it might have not been good, but you see this kind of self-fulfilling prophecy coming out here. And I wish, yeah, it's just crazy. But we'll go on to the Trump thing because he supported him in 2016 and probably has supported him all along, but he sits in the shadows. You know, he kind of sits in the shadows. Like, oh, I'm just PayPal, and you know, I'm like, whoa, I just want to make the world a better place with my technology. But you don't understand this foundation of where he was raised and how he feels that there are people who are meant to rule over everyone, and it just happens to be him and all his little Epstein buddies. And we'll get to him in the Epstein files. I mean, I've cut so much shit here. We could be here for a while. Sit tight, guys.
To want a candidate who will ensure his wealth will be protected. One who will grant more power to the tech industry. And one who shares his view that America is in decline and needs a strong man to become great again. When Trump is revealed as the best candidate to promote those aims, Thiel donates $1.25 million to his campaign.
Your health deserves more than guesswork. At Prenuvo, our whole-body MRI scans for hundreds of...
In 2016, Thiel takes the stage at the Republican National Convention during primetime.
Tonight, I urge all of my fellow Americans to stand up and vote for Donald Trump.
Thiel campaigns for Trump as if his views represented Silicon Valley. But at the time, Trump is deeply unpopular in tech. Of the top tech companies in the Valley, not a single CEO donates to Trump's 2016 campaign. And Thiel's support of Trump makes him somewhat of a pariah. According to the contrarian, friends cut ties with him or refuse to discuss politics. Thiel is unbothered. They'll change their tune soon enough. Besides, he's starting to lean into his image as the Silicon Valley supervillain.
It's interesting that now he's like, I have no problem with being a supervillain. Let's skip ahead here because I don't want to spend too much time in this. Checkmate. We're going to get up to current times, and then we're going to go into the Epstein files. We'll get into Alex Karp. We'll do a couple of videos of them looking a little crazy. We'll get into that, and then we'll get into the Antichrist stuff and the craziness about that.
What looks like a political setback with Trump may just be Thiel's chance to plan his next move. Thiel won't back Trump's second campaign, but he will build up another politician.
Via the Democrats, via our corporate oligarchs, by a bunch of childless cat ladies who are miserable at their own lives and the choices that they've made.
Okay, so you see that narrative? Peter Thiel hates women. He really does. So now he's saying like it's all these cat ladies. And I admit some of them are crazy. Some of them don't have logical approaches. But Peter Thiel, for some reason, really hates women. And you can see it now that I see Peter Thiel behind the scene and revealed. I'm like, oh, that's what the cat lady stuff was about. I mean, it's just absolutely insane. Because what Peter Thiel's trying to do is make it look like, hey, there's all these weak people. You want a strong man. You want a strong man. It's like, well, no, you want someone who's fucking human, who actually understands the American people and understands the struggle and wants to make it better. You don't just want a strong man who wants to brutally intimidate everybody. Wait, let's keep
Thiel
going.
injects J.D. Vance's primary campaign with $15 million. Vance...
Remember, Vance was a pro for a long time. I think he had him in the wings for a while. I mean, this guy got a book, New York Best Time Seller, a Netflix deal. That's how when Trump was like, yeah, he's going to be my VP, I knew. I was like, this is going nowhere good. This is bad. This is some bad shit. Because I knew that J.D. Vance was a protege of Peter Thiel, and I knew Peter Thiel was Palantir, and that was surveillance, 100%. But this is our deep dive. So now we know that Peter Thiel is literally genealogically, fascism to the core.
Is now Vice President of the United States. Thiel and Vance's relationship didn't come out of nowhere. Vance worked at one of Thiel's companies, and Thiel became his mentor, as Vance himself says. And it was also Thiel who brought J.D. Vance and Donald Trump together. After Trump is elected as president again in 2024, several members of the tech elite rally behind him. There's Elon Musk, who is against Trump in 2016 and becomes his most visible supporter in 2024. There's Mark Zuckerberg, who abolishes fact-checkers at Meta less than 2 weeks before Trump takes office. And there's Sundar Pichai, the CEO of Google, who donates $1 million to Trump just before inauguration. At the inauguration of Trump's second presidency in January 2025, major tech CEOs are clearly visible in the front row. But one person isn't there that day. He's in the background again. Peter Thiel. Instead, he watches Palantir stock skyrocket and topping the market for much of 2025. The surge is in part fueled by government contracts. And not just in the US.
Okay, so we're going to stop there on that video, but it just gives you an idea of how he's infiltrated, and it's like a mind virus. Like, he's probably the one who persuaded other tech people over time to support Donald Trump. And a lot of them are thinking, well, you know what? It seems the tide's turning that way. And remember, all these bankers, all this stuff, all these people at the top, it doesn't matter if they do woke stuff or right-wing capitalism. They make money no matter what. And they make even more money when we fight with each other. So he's obviously convinced a lot of people that, hey, let's go this way. And it's for his own ambition to come out on top, which is why I find it really interesting that we'll do one more video of him talking about the Antichrist. And then we'll do a little video of Alex Karp, because he's a big player in this, and there's definitely something wrong with him.
My very specific question for you, right, is that you're an investor in AI. My very specific question for you, right, is that you're an investor in AI. You're deeply invested in Palantir, in military technology, in technologies of surveillance, in technologies of warfare, and so on, right? And it just seems to me that when you tell me a story about the Antichrist coming to power and using the fear of technological change to sort of impose order on the world, I feel like that Antichrist would maybe be using the tools that you were building, right? Like, wouldn't the Antichrist be like, great, we're not going to have any more technological progress, but I really like what Palantir has done so far, right?
Yeah,
isn't that a concern? Wouldn't that be the irony of history would be that the man publicly worrying about the Antichrist accidentally hastens his or her arrival?
There are all these different scenarios. I obviously don't think that that's what I'm doing.
To be clear, I don't think that's what you're doing either. I'm just interested in how you get to a world willing to submit to permanent authoritarian rule.
Well, but again, there are these different gradations of this we can describe. But is this so preposterous, what I've just told you, as a broad account of the stagnation that the entire world has submitted for 50 years to peace and safetyism? This is 1 Thessalonians 5:3. The slogan of the Antichrist is peace and safety.
Very interesting. In that interview, when he's asked by this guy if he wants humanity to go on and be successful and humans to continue to live and not be extinguished from the planet, he literally pauses and does not answer right away. That was alarming. That's extraordinary. It's extraordinary alarming when you have to take a pause and go, do I want humanity to live? Do I like people? And Candace described him as like he's like a lizard in a suit, like he's not real, like he's AI himself. I don't think that. I think the way they're raised by their family, they become sociopaths. These people in these elite stuff, and that's how they believe things. It's astounding. Now, since they brought up this kind of, we'll get to Alex Karp. Don't worry, we'll get to him. He's a nice guy. But we got an article here. There was one on the Antichrist, and why can't I find it? Because it doesn't want to be found. It doesn't want to be found. I'm always astounded by this guy, and I didn't know a lot about him. I just knew he was into Palantir, and I just did not like him. I did not know that he actually believed some really crazy stuff. This is really weird. The article on the Antichrist disappeared off my thing. I will find it. Bear with me. Because he did that lecture. Here it is. We got it. So this says, inside tech billionaire Peter Thiel's off-the-record lectures about the Antichrist. And no, we're not signing in. It says Peter Thiel, the billionaire, political Svengali, and tech investor, is worried about the Antichrist. He said it could be us. It could be Greta Thunberg. Greta Thunberg could be the Antichrist. Over the past months, Thiel has hosted a series of 4 lectures privately. And I bet you they were a cover for how we're going to kill everyone. In San Francisco, philosophizing about who the Antichrist could be and warning that Armageddon is coming. Why? Because you're going to play it out. You're going to be the Antichrist, or you're giving the tool for the Antichrist. You're working with these people over in Israel and supplying them with weaponry and tracking systems so that they can literally play the Antichrist stuff out, self-fulfilling prophecy. Thiel, who describes himself as a small Orthodox Christian, small o Orthodox Christian, believes the harbinger of the end of the world could already be in our midst. Interesting, Peter. And that things such as international agencies, environmentalism, and guardrails on technology could quicken its rise. Do you see what he's trying to do here? Peter Thiel is trying to scare people. He's trying to say that, when we have all these regulations on technology and AI, it could bring about the Antichrist. He's trying to get deregulation. He's trying to scare people. He wants to, have deregulation so he can go in and do whatever he wants with Palantir and the technology and the AI. So he can go and slaughter and do whatever he wants. He's playing a mind trick here. He wants deregulation. And he's using this Christian, and it's of no surprise to me that there's this Christian rising and TPUSA in the evangelicals who believe in this stuff, and they believe that it's going to be in the end of the world, and he's playing out these narratives. I think these things are all connected because he's playing out this end of day stuff, and he's trying to bring in techie Silicon Valley peoples into this, which is really crazy. He says it's a remarkable excursion that reveals the preoccupations of one of the most influential people in the Silicon Valley. And he says a basic definition of the Antichrist. Some people think of it as a type of very bad person. Sometimes it's used more generally as a spiritual descriptor of the forces of evil, Thiel said, kicking off his first lecture. What I will focus on is the most common and most dramatic interpretation of the Antichrist. Of course he will, because he wants to scare people. An evil king or tyrant or anti-messiah who appears at the end of times. Geez, Thiel, you're right on track. You're right on track. Thiel was on the forefront of conservative politics long before the rest of Silicon Valley took a rightward turn towards Donald Trump, right? He had close ties to Trump for a decade, is credited with catapulting J.D. Vance, and is bankrolling Republicans' 2026 midterm. So this guy is going to show up and do all sorts of crazy things. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's bankrolling TPUSA and trying to push this whole, Jesus second coming and Charlie and all this stuff to get people to get behind Trump. It's absolutely insane. He's making, it's just so wacko that he's using the Antichrist as a political fear tactic. I don't know what else to call it. The meandering gospel of Peter, they said. Thiel's talks, which began on the 15th of September and ended on Monday, were long and sweeping, mingling biblical passages, recent history, and philosophy, and sometimes deviating into conspiracy theories. He peppered them with references to video games and TV shows, along with musings on J.R.R. Tolkien's The Lord of the Rings. Of course he did. He likewise recalled conversations with Elon Musk and Benjamin Netanyahu. Oh, they're all friends, huh? Well, at least now we know they're all buddies. And we know what they're up to, and spoke at length about how he thinks Bill Gates is a very, very awful person. Yeah, you're friends with him too. You've talked to him. Tickets for the series went for $200, selling out within hours. Attenders were told that the lectures were strictly off the record and that they were forbidden from taking photos, videos. Yeah, because they don't want you to hear them manipulate people. When reached for a comment, Thiel's spokesperson did not dispute the veracity of the material given to The Guardian. Hall did correct a piece of The Guardian's transcription and clarified an argument made by Thiel about Jews and the Antichrist. The Silicon Valley heavyweight drew on a wide swath of religious thinkers, including the French-American theorist René Girard, whom Thiel knew at Stanford University, and the Nazi jurist Carl Schmitt, whose work, he said, helped create the core of his own beliefs. He credited the English Catholic theologian John Henry Newman as the inspiration for his 4-part series, saying Newman did 4, so I'm doing 4. The venture capitalist has hosted and attended events and lectured on the topic for decades, apparently. Going back to the 90s, he's been I did not know he was so into the Antichrist. In recent months, he's spoken about the theologians and podcasters about the Antichrist, both publicly and private. His beliefs are diffuse, meandering, and often confusing, but one tenet he's steadfastly maintained over the years is that the unification of the world under one global state is essentially identical to the Antichrist. Well, what do you think you're doing, dickhead? In his talks, he uses the term Antichrist almost interchangeably with one world state. One world or not, in a sense, is the same as the question Antichrist or Armageddon. So in one sense, it's completely the same question, he said. His version of history and its potential end posits technology as a central driver of societal change. Okay, hands up in the audience if you guys think that this guy's doing some crazy gaslighting and word salad, that literally giving up all your regulations and rules to these tech people is going to cause the world government. Like, they're obviously all linked. He's trying to trick you. His father was linked with Schwab. All these people want this new world order, one world government. And he's trying to trick us to think that his tech stuff is the opposite of that, when it's not. It's absolutely not. What do Thiel's lectures say? How does Thiel think Armageddon will happen? I mean, it goes on and on. He says there's all sorts of different ways, one world or none, Antichrist or Armageddon, that I'm tempted to think about this. And here's one sort of application. In terms of how does one think about the current geopolitical moment, how does one think about the nature of the conflict between US and China, the West and China? You don't really know how it's going to go. You can ask, are we headed for World War III or Cold War II? And if you sort of reflect on the history of the wars, but first, if there ever was an unjust war, all wars that you guys have done are unjust. World War I was, he just goes on and on. It's a lot of babble. This guy is trying to get us to believe that if we just give him more power, that he will prevent the Antichrist. But that process literally upholds his concept of the Antichrist. Am I just batshit crazy, or am I onto something? We're going to take a little mini break here and go to the comments. Pirate Ship says, life background is key to knowing what makes people tick. Absolutely. So now we know where he came from. And Incognito said, funny how 9/11 helped kick off Palantir, and he's deeply associated with Epstein. Yeah, we will definitely get into the Epstein stuff. So he's got this whole religious stuff. I don't even know if he believes it. I think he's fancying himself as an antichrist, and he's kind of trying to double speak and say different things to different audiences, pretending he wants to prevent the antichrist. I think he's doing some sneaky stuff here. I don't trust the guy with his whole entire background, and a lot of this is self-fulfilling prophecy, in my opinion. I mean, just the fact that they were in with Schwab tells me that's why he's getting all this stuff, because he's in with these elite globalists anyways. Ever since he was born, he was destined to at least have some kind of connection. And the guy's like a voracious workaholic. His husband, he's married to a man. I believe his husband was in with BlackRock. I mean, you can't get more globalist great. He's trying to convince you otherwise, but his husband literally used to work for BlackRock and all these globalists and WEF, and he's trying to convince you that if you just let go of your rules and your guards and your boundaries, I will save you. Sorry, fucker. There's no such thing as a guy who comes in and saves us. Trump already proved that one. Now let's get into the Epstein ties, and then we'll kind of discuss Alex Karp for a little bit. This all came from this. I hope it's true that they broke into their system and they gathered a lot of data from him, because they would be kind of heroic, like in the sense of WikiLeaks and Edward Snowden. It would be like, oh, well, you kind of deserved it. You're kind of evil. I'm not saying that. How is he destroying? This is him and Epstein. And is Epstein... Oh, no, actually, I think we have one more. We've got one more video on the Antichrist with him. We've got one more video on the Antichrist that we're going to go to. I've got it on this playlist here. Here we go. Yeah. There we go.
Peter Thiel. He's doing a 4-day seminar on the Antichrist.
What?
I read this article by Christianity Today about the Acts 17 ministry. I think their intentions are good. They want to reach the tech industry with the gospel. The husband of the founder of Acts 17, he used to work for Peter Thiel at Palantir, and they went over to one tech industry dude's house to do like this house church, and Peter Thiel was there, and Peter Thiel just started talking about the Antichrist and stuff. And apparently all these Silicon Valley tech dudes were just like, we didn't know Peter Thiel was a Christian.
Peter Thiel is a libertarian, and there's a professor that he studied under. A lot of his quotes regarding Christianity are direct quotes from this professor. The professor and him are very, as far as like the Antichrist and stuff like that, there's this tension between the apocalypse coming and the Antichrist is the hero that saves everyone from it. His entire thing is like, something's gonna happen that makes you choose one or the other. But he defines himself, as far as his own religious views, as a heterodoxical Christian. It's the same root as heretic. He doesn't believe you need to evangelize. He's like, my faith is real for me. I don't need to convince you of it. You cannot call yourself a believer. And the last thing that Jesus said after his 3 years of ministry, death and resurrection, he says, go and make disciples of all nations, teaching them to obey the things I've commanded you. You cannot be a follower of that human and say, I don't have to teach you to obey. It's in direct defiance. I think there is a political advantage that he's trying to pull from this. You either believe in the Jesus of the Bible or you don't believe in Jesus.
There's a big difference between having conversations and then being put up as a teacher and learning. The Bible's very clear. People who teach should be very careful.
One of his arguments for like transhumanism, what I believe I got from it was his excuse was that Christians are transhumanism. It's the renewal of the spirit. You become a new person. Your soul is transformed. You're a transhuman.
You're not living. It's Christ that's living through you.
So that's almost like an excuse. And I'm like, this sounds like the anti.
Yeah. I'm not so sure because, a lot of this stuff is made up. Like the Bible's propaganda too, the Old Testament's propaganda, all of this stuff is propaganda. So it just sounds like they're doing some other new clusterfuck transhuman version of propaganda, and they have to have rules and regulations thrown away in order to make it happen. That's what it feels like. But that was just a little thing from Ninjas or Butterfly. Now let's get into Epstein, because that ties in too with what's going on. They're tied in with all of them. Alex Karp is on the list, and so is Peter Thiel. Just so you know, they're there. Okay. Let's go for it. Here we go.
Peter Thiel and Jeffrey Epstein, two American billionaires, one shaping global technology, the other cultivating elite networks through leverage, access, and scandal. Epstein's calendars show several meetings with Thiel, while Epstein repeatedly raised Palantir to former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak.
However, he has a company called Palantir. So he thought that Peter would put you on the board of Palantir. Peter Thiel is one of the best.
Even years after Epstein's 2008 conviction for sex offenses, they scheduled dinners and organized meetings, sometimes involving other high profiles. Following these meetings, Jeffrey Epstein invested about $40 million in venture funds co-funded by Peter Thiel. Thiel later founded Palantir, whose technology and surveillance tools are used by intelligence agencies and Israeli military in the occupied West Bank and Gaza. In just over 2 decades, Palantir grew from a CIA-funded startup into a multi-billion-dollar data power embedded in governments, militaries, and public services worldwide. Today, Palantir plays a growing role in the UK state, with contracts spanning the NHS, the Ministry of Defence, and local government systems. In return, Palantir has received nearly £190 million in the UK, while independent investigations suggest the true value of historic and current deals could exceed £670 million. Although protests over Palantir's influence are increasing across the UK, it remains one of the most powerful private data contractors in the British public sector. Palantir moves quietly from wealth to tech to government. Who benefits from this power dynamic remains unclear.
The Antichrist does, but you can see how he's definitely taken stuff from Epstein. He's taken money, and he's on those lists, and we'll just go over that. Where he could be on that list. Are they on the list? We've got Alex Karp here. He's showing up on the list. So, based on recent high-profile reports, the search results refer to Brad Karp, the former chair of the law firm, rather than Alex Karp. Okay, that is not what we want. We want Peter Thiel, Epstein files. Says, material released by Justice Department revealed that leading business politicos had enduring relationships with the disgraced financier. They said they didn't really know Jeffrey Epstein that well. They were disgusted by him right from the bat. They were just drawn to his intellect or love of science. They didn't know about the abuse of women or girls. Okay, so let's see. Is that true? So far, at least, the documents have not fundamentally altered the public understanding of Mr. Epstein or his crime. Instead, they were replete with chummy exchanges, warm invitations, and financial entanglements. Together, documents show Mr. Epstein's connection with Hollywood people, Wall Street, Washington, and fashion thrived, even after he was convicted. Elon Musk appeared to be eager to visit the island. Let's see. Mr. Lutnick was on there. Andrew Farkas called himself one of Mr. Epstein's best friends. Let's see, do they get to Peter Thiel on here? Or is that just early last year, the billionaire capitalist Peter Thiel wrote an essay for the Financial Times arguing that Mr. Trump's re-election meant that closely guarded government secrets, including about Mr. Epstein's death, would finally come to light. Oh, in the months since, the scrutiny around Mr. Epstein instead revealed that the investment firm co-funded by Mr. Thiel accepted $40 million from Mr. Epstein and corresponded for at least 5 years before his death. Visit me in the Caribbean, Mr. Epstein urged the tech billionaire in 2018. Then they declined to say whether he had visited the island, but he was invited and he had literally take $40 million for him. I find it hard to believe that he wasn't around there. He displays photos with famous friends in his Manhattan townhouse where girls and young women might see them often. He often had them listen to his phone conversations. He bragged to them about who he knew and about what might happen to his victims if they turned against him. Mr. Epstein sometimes brought his victims to social events where they met his elite acquaintances. And the documents released on Friday provided more examples. In testimonies to investigators, that victims of Mr. Epstein said she was coerced to visit the island and that Mr. Epstein had sexually abused her there. Wow. A lot of them. Let's see. I swear that so we know there's money, we know there's business between them. And we know that Elon Musk definitely wanted to go there. I guess they didn't want Elon. Now there's Ian Carroll has a system called Web. And I tried to get on the beta testing because it's got all the documents and because these AIs are lying about it, they're hiding information and Google is hiding information. But this web system that Ian Carroll has developed it's gonna bang it out. But so far, I don't know if Alex Karp's on there, but I know they took a lot of money from Epstein. The mention of Alex Karp, the CEO of Palantir Technologies, in connection with Jeffrey Epstein, primarily stems from the release of a massive batch of Department of Justice DOJ files. These files contain millions of documents. Alex Karp. While some reports and opinion pieces discuss Palantir's early funding through Peter Thiel, who did have document interactions with him, direct evidence of Alex Karp participating in Epstein's personal activities had not been established yet. We'll see. We'll see, because I really want to get into that web thing, but I couldn't get into the beta testing. But there's a lot of people who are on there, Bill Gates, all of them. We shall see. She says Elon has been very out there about Thiel being closely connected to Epstein in interviews. Yeah, we said Donald Trump and everything, but Elon's documented in the Epstein files. He's documented as talking about going to the island and partying. So he's in there. He's trying to divert people and not say he's not, but he's in there. He had regular communications and talked to Epstein about coming to his island. And he didn't just say, "Hey, I want a little dinner party." He wanted a wild, crazy party. And that's the thing. A lot of these geeky tech bros, they're pissed off. They weren't popular when they were young. No one liked them. And so now they have all this money and power. So they do the most horrendous shit. And they party and drugs. I mean, did you see Elon Musk high on mescaline in the White House with a black eye? Like just twigging out. Speaking of twigging out, we got Alex Karp. I mean, these guys there's something wrong here. We got Alex Karp twigging out on his interview with the New York Times. Check Alex Karp out. He's just twigging out. I don't know what's wrong with him.
When we began talking, annoying each other 10 years ago, hopefully I'm annoying you as much as 10 years ago, or more. When I made you know this, every decision Palantir made, FDAs, going public, building products, enterprise, large data sets, going to government, acknowledging American superiority, being pro-meritocracy, launching an AI platform, calling into question that AI models would actually be able to perform without orchestration. Every single one, our ontology, every single one of those was.
Okay, and it continued. I just have it like 30 seconds. It continued. He was up and down. It just looked like he was cracked. Like, look at him at first.
When we began talking, annoying each other 10 years ago, hopefully I'm annoying you as much as 10 years ago, or more. When I made this, every decision.
Like, I know that he has had some learning things, but like this is a guy who's on something. Something's going on here, and it's not normal. That's Alex Karp. That's he's the CEO and co-founder of Palantir, and he's got some diabolical thinking himself. Yeah, he's wacko right there. And I heard Dave Rubin he's a gay Republican. And he was visiting Peter Thiel, apparently asking for $5 million. And Candace had some shit to say about them. Like, they were like depraved weirdos, sex, and like, yeah. There's something going on. These guys are all connected. They're all connected to all the influencers. They make sure to get their points in on these podcasts. It is so bizarre. I just can't even fathom that these are the people that rule us and say they're meant to rule and we're losers and we deserve to die. And that's another thing about the Epstein files is they're talking about how to get rid of populations, how to kill people, how to get rid of poor people. Peter Thiel hates poor people. He blames the decline of America on poor people. Like, it's not the politicians and the bankers plotting, the Great Depression. Poor people didn't do that. Right? And they just, it's just like, we want to control more and more. I wouldn't trust these people to give me a universal income. These guys purposely break the housing market. They break everything so they can steal the housing and steal our land and keep stealing from us and put us out. They do it on purpose. And Peter Thiel is also a proponent of those freedom cities, which are basically smart cities. They want to build these cities where they'll give benefits to people who move there. They'll get lower taxes. If you move in these cities, they'll give you lower taxes. So you basically live in these company cities where you're monitored. You're like a little rat in a cage all the time. That should be illegal that people have lower taxes because they live in a fucking, techno gulag. That's insane. They're just trying to lure people there. It's crazy. It's absolutely un-American. And this is why they want all the regulations gone and they want to erode the government. This is why they probably did. JD Vance and them were saying, yeah, let's go in and do the Doge. They were going into the systems and getting all the information. Palantir was going in there. You can guarantee that Palantir was looking at all social securities, numbers, and everything. It's woo. It's crazy. But that was Alex Karp wackadoodling it out. We got there's just so much to know about these guys, and with Trump, it is. But that root cause, that root connection with his family to the globalists, to Schwab and Kissinger, that just tells you why they have the power they have. They're not like these geniuses that invented stuff. They're connected to all of these people who are connected to the CIA, who are connected to military. It's disturbing. And then they call us the problems when they're doing nothing but creating the problems. That's all they ever do. Absolutely. I think I have one more video to show you guys. Let's watch this one. What was this one again?
We do see the various AI-generated images on their X account and renditions of a utopian landscape on their website. Praxis relies on intentionally vague messaging and neo-fascist aesthetics. Frankly, pretty hilarious tweets about San Francisco being once a great civilization. Imagine living in a city and vibing with everyone there. I see a holy war spreading across the universe like an unquenchable fire. and rumblings about how, quote, digital nations will become the blockchain of fiat money. With this, we know what a Tumblr account of a far-right rich kid would look like, but we're only left with vague glimmerings on what these digital nations would look like. Despite this, we do have a good idea how it would function. That being classic deregulatory oligarchy, one propped up by what Praxis calls acceleration zones, a new type of special economic zone that accelerates technological progress in service of national priorities by attracting technologists and developing an institutional and regulatory structure that unlocks technological development. They want to push AI, crypto, energy, and biotech through, quote, increasing velocity of experiments via streamlined regulation.
It's being offered by a company that in every way looks non-standard, run by people. It's being offered by a company that in every way looks non-standard, run by people that are very different, look different, feel different, talk differently, and with a CEO that many view as batshit crazy. It's being offered by
This whole thing with Palantir in Gaza is really disturbing because they want to talk about Antichrist stuff and all of this craziness, but they're the ones over there trying to carve up that area. Remember, they're going to use religion to intimidate people, to scare them, to do all of this stuff. They're going to use religion for that. And they've already invaded TPUSA. I can guarantee you that. They're all linked. This is all some clusterfuck network. And that's a strategic area. They're not just in there for the holy war. They're in there because that whole area with Gaza and Israel, they want access to it because it's strategic for shipping, it's strategic for oil, it's strategic for money. It's a strategic location between Europe and the Middle East, and they're very interested in that. And I find it really disturbing that that means Palantir has been backing this up even while Biden was in. They've been helping Netanyahu. So that means none of these, it doesn't really matter what these presidents are. There's people behind the scenes doing this. And the technocrats, they want to rule the world. They want their few people to rule governments, whatever. We control them. That's not a deal. That doesn't matter. We'll just keep making more rules to keep the people down. And we'll take regulations away that put us in check so we don't abuse the people. And you've got a whole bunch of MAGA who still love JD Vance and love all this, and they can't see who's behind JD Vance. They can't see who is funding him and putting him into power, so he will carry out the Palantir stuff. Peter Thiel has lied, in secret, in the darkness, behind the scenes, waiting for his moment to get JD Vance in. Is JD Vance, is he the true? Is he going to be in there and he's going to usher this in? The more important thing to say, if you believe in the Antichrist, is that the Palantir stuff is a tool of the Antichrist. Now, I just don't think Donald Trump is really, he's just showing up and talking and signing shit. And people are telling him what it is he's going to do. I really don't think he's not stupid, but he's not that much of a genius. And remember, he's funded by Zionists, left, right, and center, all over the place. It's like once you wake up and you realize it's everywhere that they want these global wars and they want to send people out to do it, to the slaughter, and if you're not out there, pirate ship says, I think they are overconfident and kind of blinded in perspective. Thiel, that is. Oh, he's definitely, because of his upbringing in that really kind of sheltered life, I guess you could call it. You know, the map isn't the territory. And that's the thing when you play chess. Chess isn't real life. That's why it looks like a psychopath. Because chess isn't real life. And there are other moves in life and other people and other factors that factor in that is not a chessboard. Yeah, he can put the moves in the structure and the business people that he knows. And he can strategize and have ultimate control, but life is not a chessboard. I always keep trying to say, like, maybe there should be some kind of, like, well, why do they want to block the sun out so much? You know, like, they're scared of the sun in some strange way. And if everything's getting hotter and it's more polluted, and of course they're going to blame poor people. They're not going to blame them and their jets and their wars and their nuclear bomb testing and all the chemicals they spray in there everywhere and how they've altered the system without we haven't even had any control over that. They're not going to blame that. They're going to blame poor people. Everything's going to go on the poor people's backs. Apparently women too. I don't believe in an antichrist, but they do. And they apparently believe in fantasy movies and Palantir and all sorts of crazy stuff. That's not my gig. That's their gig. And it's a disturbing gig. And it's really twisted to watch them carry out some Lord of the Rings final days. It's just like, you know, who throws the ring into the pit? Like, who, you know, it's a good metaphor. Maybe Peter Thiel is like Golem. My precious. Like, they're all invaded by this, you know. The natives in Canada, I believe it's the natives in Canada, they used to call it Watika or Watiko. It's like a mind virus that they've seen the early colonizer have. These people have Watiko. These people are Alderbayan. How do you say that name? They've got like this mind virus where they just more and more power. The fake connectivity, internet, more power, more money. They don't actually know how to have real human connection and they don't like it. It grosses them out. They abhor it when they see it. They're like, ugh. Well, in the Bible, the Antichrist is a person. He's an actual person. Just saying. You can take it as a metaphor or collective, or this could be the tool. But these guys think they're going to usher in some kind of either second Christ over in Israel. They think that their Messiah is going to come. But in Christianity, that's the Antichrist. You've got all these people who are merging together with different ideas. And Peter Thiel is doing this like chess, and he's come out very high and very on top. And now he is controlling the government. He's in with the military, and he is going to go hell and high water and probably try to win in the midterms with the people. Hopefully, are on to him. And the thing is even if they vote somebody else in, I don't know how much it's going to matter because everybody is so evil, and nobody actually believes in the good of mankind and actually being good to their neighbors. And you know, it's just crazy. There's probably way more information you can get out there. There's way more information that you can get out there. True, but we know we can't. Well, if you can't take the Bible for truth, then there's no Antichrist, right? I mean, that when that was written, they were talking about the Emperor of Rome. So they are talking about someone that has absolute power. And that could still come to fruition. Someone who has this absolute power. I have a feeling, like I said, I've always had a feeling that there's an ink clashing, and that's why these Epstein files were released. Bill and Hill are going to be testifying. I have a feeling that someone's going to try to take some leader out at some point. There's an in-clash, and there's people who definitely do not agree with Peter Thiel. Yeah, they want to LARP the apocalypse. They're like, yeah, let's dress up in our Gandalf costumes. He's not Gandalf, though. If anything, Peter Thiel would be Saruman, because these politicians are all possessed. And, David Icke says it's these sort of entities from beyond this realm that are possessing these people in their little meat suits. He could be right. These are I don't think they think they're in control, but I think they're possessed by something weird. It is a spiritual battle, but who knows? I mean, most of the people in the Catholic Church, we can't depend on that. Like, they're going to come out and, I mean, there's people in power way behind the Pope that are running things. I just don't give faith in any of it. And solutions, I don't know what the solution is for guys like this. I guess they'll just spiral out on their own. It's always why I always thought Hitler may have just been a puppet or used, and that he actually escaped and lived and went down to Argentina. It's possible, because many of them did. And they're like, yeah, we want to get Hitler. And I'm like, no. The dude was working with the Zios. He's working with the Zionists to put people in concentration camps, to force them to move out, to go to Israel, or what would be the future state of Israel. I just always got this feeling that the guy escaped. I could be wrong. I could be 100% wrong, but I know history is not how they tell it. Yeah, they burn out. Well, looking at all the drugs that these people do, they're, maybe they're covers. I mean, Elon Musk definitely isn't that intelligent. So there's obviously people behind them in all these defense contractors. And, I mean, DARPA, they're the one who funded Facebook and got that going. The narrative that they give you in the movie about Mark Zuckerberg being in college, this is all bullshit. It's all bullshit. These people are actors. It's absolutely crazy. It's all government, military, CIA, DARPA stuff. So it is a collective. But then the natives saw this long ago when these colonialists came with their technology and building their buildings and how they treated the land. And I'm not saying they had perfect society, that they never went to war, but there was something different as Watiko. And it's a bad spirit. It makes you hungry and greedy for more and more and more. Like, how much power do you need? How much money do you need? Oh, that's the other part of it. That's what we need to. They see their lifetime so limited in length, and they accelerate past their capability, racing against the clock. They're big into immortality and finding a way to live forever. They're literally terrified of death. Terrified of it. Peter Thiel. Let's see what he says about it, because he's his game of chess is really disturbing. Let's see. We need a shorter one. Let's see what this. Oops. All right. We're going to share the screen again. Their life is limited, and they're humans, and they're so narcissistic and psychopathic. I think it drives them bonkers. I think it really bothers them, and they want to live to see this come about. They want to control it all. And TikTok, they're human and they're old. And this is why they want this transhumanistic stuff. They want to replace all their body parts so they can keep living forever with their nasty Watika brain.
Palantir from the Lord of the Rings.
Sorry, guys.
You know the Palantir from the Lord of the Rings? Seeing stones that allow you to spy and surveil on anybody, but opens you up to being seen as well. There's a real-life version of it, and it's called Palantir. And it's founded by this guy, Peter Thiel. And it's named after those very stones. And it's used by governments to track you, predict your behavior, and to follow your every movement. In the books, the more you use the Palantir, the more Sauron saw you. In real life, the more you use technology, the more it builds a digital profile about you. Now let's get this clear. This isn't just surveillance. This is prophecy as infrastructure. Follow Magus in the Media for more breakdowns where
prophecy as infrastructure. I think they do believe in all this whack stuff because Nazi Germany believed in a lot of this. They were huge into the occult. I want to really look at this idea because they're obsessed with immortality. Oh, there he is. About this is I don't want to play it all. We'll go through it and then we'll end up with kim.com. But this is the link to that interview with Peter Thiel. Hopefully it's chapters and we can just go through a couple of minutes of it. That's the full interview that he did with that guy, and they talk about this stuff.
Breathtaking. It was
Here we go.
Is Silicon Valley recklessly ambitious?
Yeah,
what should we fear more, Armageddon or stagnation? Why is one of the world's most...
Okay, let's get in here.
And then...
let's see. He believes in stagnation. Okay, here he is.
Broadly believe in the stagnation thesis. It was never an absolute thesis. So the claim was not that we were absolutely completely stuck. It was in some ways a claim about the velocity had slowed. It wasn't, zero, but that we were, I don't know, from 1750 to 1970, 200 plus years were periods of accelerating change where we're, relentlessly, we're moving faster. The ships were faster, the railroads were faster, the cars were faster, the planes were faster. It culminates in the Concorde and the Apollo missions, and then that in all sorts of dimensions, things had slowed. There was, I always made an exception for the world of bits.
So he believes that we've stagnated and slowed. Well, that's up to you. That's what you guys are doing. You're slowing it down with social media as propaganda. I want to get up here and see if they talk about living forever. I don't know if they do. This is just too long to go in. We're not going to go through
way
all this.
more.
It's too long, but I gave you guys the link if you guys want to watch it. Palantir and this conspiracy to own everything. I don't think it's he's on Joe Rogan too. That's why I know Joe Rogan's there just to downplay it. He's totally there to downplay it. Oh, this guy. He works at Palantir. He doesn't want to criticize him. Well, Palantir's kill chain in the dark side of artificial intelligence. Well, there's so much to know, but I know they're obsessed with living forever.
So just at a high level, when you sort of are sorting through all of this, what are you seeing that is further confirmation of this Israel, Epstein, Mossad, CIA, cabal connection here?
Yeah, so as we talked about last time, Dropset's been doing this ongoing series of investigations on the connection between Epstein and the Israeli government and Israeli security services and Israeli private firms tied to the security services, which are very heavily involved in the tech sector and tech surveillance and so forth. Epstein was a very critical node in all of that. Now, this email dump is very interesting because there was a tremendous number of documents dumped. And in typical fashion, they weren't dumped in a way which made them extremely accessible. They kind of were released in a very chaotic fashion. And my understanding is about 3 million documents were released, but that document release is only about half of what the DOJ is said to have. So there should be another 3 million or so files and documents related to Epstein that the DOJ has in its possession. And I think Rokana and Thomas Massey and a few others have brought that up. So, whatever we've seen right now, and I saw you guys were reading some of the really egregious sort of allegations that were in some of these emails and correspondence in some of them.
Like I'm saying, when that web is available through Ian Carroll, I'm going to go to that and look but I couldn't get in on beta. I wasn't important enough.
That's still maybe just the tip of the iceberg, to be honest, because whatever they saw fit to release this and not the other 3 million, which we don't have any schedule or time frame to see. So, I'll tell you that our previous stories were based.
Yeah, and it is interesting that they chose to release those and there's still stuff hidden. They're going to try to get us on that one. They're going to try to get us on that one.
On the very, very limited.
Let's see, what do we got here? Whoops.
Quite discernible in their interactions. So it was really, Epstein was kind of above, any institution like that per se, but he was a resource and a critical node that they actually relied on for connections and help and for money and political purposes and to spread their influence globally and so forth. So I suspect that these files, which, again, we haven't had the chance to go through in great granularity and really to extract the true meaning out of them does take some time to kind of put them chronologically together and see what the meaning of all the conversations were in context. But I do suspect that they'll point more of this. Now, I have been looking at that conversation that you referenced earlier with Barack and a third figure.
Okay.
About it. Why does he need to know this? If they're, if Palantir is going to do what they're going to do, he needs him to know about Peter Thiel. Like, why bring this guy who is legacy leadership in on this if they're just going to, why? I'm asking you to guess.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because at this time, Ehud Barak was leaving public service, and in Israel, and like many countries, when politicians leave public service, they want to try to leverage the access they got in office to make a lot of money. And in making a lot of money, often still pursue the same political goals that they did in office, or whatever ideological goals they had, but try to make money as a private citizen in tandem with that. So what Epstein was doing for Barack at this time was he's helping build him up as this tech security mogul. And as you can tell, Barack didn't even know what Palantir was at that time, so he probably didn't really have that much of a background in the field. He was someone focused. He was a defense minister and so forth. He was a professional soldier at one point in his life and politician.
Well, also, to be fair, right, most people didn't know what Palantir was at that point. And they had really just kind of secured their CIA funding at that point, which, you know what I mean? So most people didn't know about it. And here he is speaking about it as if he has some sort of CIA insider knowledge, passing this on to Ehud Barak.
Yeah, it's very notable for that reason. You're right. And one thing that I've seen in these email archives and some of the other leaked archives that have come out over the past year or so, and has been reported by a few other places and smaller outlets as well too, is that Palantir, sometime around this period, was attempting to hire the Israeli ambassador to the UN directly out of his role at the UN, Ron Prosor. So, there was some very intimate relationship between the Israeli political establishment, security establishment with this company, which, as you mentioned, also has ties to the American intelligence establishment. So Epstein's interest in it is not surprising to me in a way, because he was very invested and interested in this idea of surveillance technology. And he was a very intelligent and forward-thinking man in some ways, in the sense that he was plugged into all these networks, and he was trying to shape the technological environment that we would see in the years to come through his access to intelligence resources and also the money he could draw upon.
Well, don't you hate when people say, "I told you"?
All right. So they're just going on about how basically Palantir is trying to hire Israelis into the company and putting their stuff into the Israeli government to help them basically take over Gaza. So I'm going to assume Peter Thiel has some theological perspective on this, since he's been lecturing about the Antichrist. And it seems like he's pushing this sort of Antichrist war in this area, and he's helping along. And he's got, you don't run around as a tech bro lecturing on the Antichrist and talk about biblical stuff if you don't, and then start associating yourself with Israel and putting yourself in there, and then hiring their IDF people and all that stuff into your company, unless you've got some kind of weird, crazy shit that you want to carry out biblically. It's just all too much. And I think he thinks he's cleverer than us because of all the tech stuff, but it's really obvious to me that they're up to some kind of weird biblical stuff. So if anyone's going to be what is Rue Ryder's dog said? He says, sorry, I'll just put it back up here on this scene. He said, hello again. Obama whacked back his aliens are real comment. A little, some of the higher ups cabal said something to him for sure. So yeah, apparently Obama said aliens were real, but that he didn't see them anywhere here. You say, no, I didn't mean that shit. Aliens are real. Peter Thiel is proof of it. Peter Thiel is a disgusting human being, maybe even not human. Dude is gross. Well, he certainly has ties to Nazi Germany and yeah, crazy stuff. You can rewatch from the beginning. We go into that. Peter Thiel, Palantir. Final kind of thoughts. Let's go back to Kim.com. We're going to tie this up. We're going to go back to old Kimmy. If he's still there. Oh, yeah. He's still there. Let's go back. Because this is what started me wanting to talk about Palantir, the roots of Peter Thiel. Alex Karp seems to be this eccentric. I don't necessarily think Alex Karp is good. I think a lot of these tech bros are on something, are doing drugs, are doing crazy stuff. I know there's a lot of talk between these techs on what to do with the poor people. They seem really disgusted by poor people, which is really disturbing. They like to use us as slaves, but at the same time they want to kill. They want to kill us. There he has Palantir. They're in Israel. They've probably more than kissed the wall. Oh, there's something. That was the one, but there was another one that I wanted to say of his, and he highlighted some of the perspectives that not Jewish people, but he says here, whoever wants to win the AGI race, AI competitors should join forces, solar power in space, and compute in space. It's the fastest way. If AGI goes rogue, you control it. I think they're already planning that. I think they're already planning solar stuff up in the clouds and stuff like that. Now, there was a quote that he did here, and I wanted to... Did I bookmark it? No, I didn't. Well, shucky darns. I'll find it. And it was interesting because it comes from their own quotes on what they really want to do. And it was here. Oh. Okay, this goes back to the immortality thing. Peter Thiel invested in a company called Ambrosia, named after the food of the immortal, which harvested the blood of young people to be transfused into the vampire Judeo-Satanists. J.D. Vance is connected to Ambrosia indirectly. Harvesting, do you guys remember that? They were harvesting the blood of the young. Wow. The notion has been parodied on TV, but a real company is offering transfusions of plasma from teenagers to reinvigorate older people at $8,000. So he invested in that company called Ambrosia. I never heard this one before. Apparently, on Epstein Island, they removed children's teeth so they couldn't bite to defend themselves. Wow. Wow. Oops. That's not what that is. Wow. I can't find that post, and it was so well outlined about their plans to deprave our culture. Let's check it out. No, not getting it. Darn it. And I really wanted to read it, and I thought I had saved it, and I didn't. Ambrosia. I'd heard about that, and I thought it was a little crazy. I'll try to find this, but I don't know. The Door Brothers. We just made a $200 million AI movie in just one day. It's actually crazy. It's actually crazy. Pam Bondi, I'm willing to go down with President Trump. Well, President Trump will throw you under the bus, Pam. He isn't going to go down. He is going to allow you to be thrown under the bus, no doubt. It really outlines the attitude of Zionists towards the rest of the world, essentially. And it was disturbing, to say the least. And even though I know this guy is wanted for a lot of crimes, like as if the elites haven't committed those crimes much worse. Oh, apparently the U.S. empire wants Europe to help it recolonize the global south. Wow. So they're going all out. They want to just take over globally. They don't care. They do not care. So there's the Ambrosia thing. I just wish I could find that because it really outlines their perspective. Harvey Weinstein, yeah, he's definitely for all these wars. Here we go.
In 2003. Where did that war come from? You know what? It's quite surprising. That war came from Netanyahu, actually.
If you take out Saddam, I guarantee you that it will have enormous positive reverberations on the region.
Netanyahu.
Yeah, that didn't work out very well, did it? That didn't work out very well, did it? Yeah, I just can't seem to find it. That's on Pam Bondi. Interesting. In 2013, Florida Attorney General Pam Bondi announced a fraud investigation into Trump University, which was a fraud. A few days later, the Trump Foundation gave $25,000 to a Bondi re-election group. Bondi then announced she would not investigate Trump U. It is illegal for tax-exempt charities to engage in political activity, and Trump paid a $2,500 fine. Bondi advisor said Bondi had solicited the contribution. If done as a quid pro quo, that would be illegal. Trump and daughter Ivanka each personally donated $500 to Bondi's campaign. In spring 2014, Trump and Ivanka donated $125,000 to the Florida GOP, which helped Bondi's campaign. Trump rented out Mar-a-Lago to Bondi at nearly $135,000 discount for a fundraiser where he was a special guest. And Bondi spoke at the Republican National Convention in support of Trump. What they're saying is she's not a neutral AG. She's corrupt. And I can't find it, so I don't want to spend all night looking for it. But it essentially outlined what the whole thing on the public has been for years. To deprave the public, to take over, to do porn, to make us fight amongst each other, treat us like slaves. It really outlined their whole philosophy. Oh, apparently Jeffrey Epstein's brother was caught in an FBI sting in 2009 trying to sell client and victim lists. He detailed the operation 17 years ago, and the FBI did nothing. Wow. So some people think Ghislaine Maxwell, look at the difference. They think that's a fake person in jail. Wouldn't surprise me. These guys are all psycho. Yeah, I'm not finding it, so we're not going to spend too much time. But if it has been infiltrated, that means they don't have as spectacular as a system. They're denying it. They're saying they have not been hacked or infiltrated. But there's groups who are saying, indeed, they have been. WeWriter says Peter Thiel owns Enigma Labs. Pam was already a non-starter. When I seen that he hired her, I was like, oh shit, because I knew she had been covering for Epstein. She's responsible for red flag laws in Florida under her watch. She's a gun grabber from the get-go. Wow. Yeah. She's not a good person. So this whole idea of these tech companies coming to save us with AI, it's just ridiculous. And like I always say on the show, you really have to have some self autonomy. I mean, I know that TPUSA is like Mooney's Cult 2.0, but it's also infiltrated with Mossad, but it's evangelical. I don't know that he's, Peter Thiel's an evangelical, but I could definitely see that he wouldn't care. He would just use them to get Trump in, to get JD Vance in, to further his agenda. He doesn't care about any of these poor evangelicals. He sees them as slaves anyways. And so there's a whole lot of things happening now out there that is probably it's like all coming together in this one, like their little holy weird wars. And there's a lot of people who are accusing Palantir of creating the Fourth Reich. And to tie this up, Germany, I mean, it got pulverized, but in the main people that were doing a lot of this experimentation and stuff in Germany, they all fled. And they got, Alan Dulles, who became head of the CIA. He was getting rich people to fund Hitler long before, and all the, and then they became head of the CIA. So we know this stuff is literally baked into the CIA, and it was probably created for these very reasons that we're seeing now. And so there was never any, oh, the Nazis died and they just didn't exist. They just bring them all over here and put them in businesses, put them in NASA, put them in the CIA, put them in tech companies down in apparently South Africa. They got to enslave the black population to make them do mining like slaves so they could build nuclear weapons that they weren't supposed to be building secretly. God knows what they did in Argentina. This stuff is going on and it's expanding. And all along, America never realized, as their society is slowly eroded by these people, not by poor people and women voting, but by these hideous monsters at the top, slowly eroding so that we are in a corner where it doesn't matter what direction we turn, who we vote for, that these people are pushing this and they've got a lot of money. I don't know where it's going to end, but I know we certainly can not absorb it. We have to just observe it and realize what's going on. I have no idea how you'd even stop this kind of craziness unless everyone just put their technology down and threw it away. But they have so much data now that they're going to be able to recognize faces and all that stuff. So yeah, it's a crazy world, and Palantir is not a good thing. And the more you look into that, the more it looks back at you. I don't know. Do you think maybe AI will get out of control and attack its founders? And that would be nice. Do they get the eternal life? They're living forever, merging. I mean, really, we're really going through a crazy world all because of the fear of a couple of tech bros, because they're terrified to die. So now everybody must be into this system where they can live forever. For all I know, we could all be synced up into this system with brain things in our head, and they're sucking our energy one after the other so they can live forever. That wouldn't surprise me. That is a possibility. Now, I'm going to tie this up. I thank you guys for watching. It kind of went all over the place a little bit at the end, but we are going to have the Sunday show on Jim Jones, of course, and wish me luck. Pirate Shipping says the evangelical mega church cultism has been such a tool for them for so long time. They've infiltrated it from the beginning with psyops and CIA stuff, and same with country music. She also says, focus on your own core values and preserve your own people in life. It's what you got. The internet is all bots. Mostly, X is filled with bots. It's such a scam. Most of the comments are bots. It's all fake. So you can just kind of go to the smaller channels where you know they're real and support those people and support your values, like she said. And observe, don't absorb. Don't give them their money. Don't move into them smart cities. Don't go to their events. Don't wear Palantir logos. Don't put their hats on. Don't go to these massive events. Sure as hell don't pay Peter Thiel to lecture you about the Antichrist, considering that he actually probably is one. All right, guys. We'll be here Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Mountain Time, and that's 2 p.m. Pacific. We're going to revisit Jim Jones, another clusterfuck of CIA crazy stuff, and I will see you then. Please remember to thumbs up, like, and share, and subscribe.